So I'll admit it, I'm clumsy. I will trip and snag over everything. And in a car, in the front or especially in the back, it's so easy to, while you're moving around, just snag a charging cable and then yank it. And there's always a chance that you're going to yank the phone out of the holder and then break it, or you're just going to snap the cable in the port area and break the port or the cables. So I have been using this magnetically connected solution for a while now. I'm pretty happy with it. What it is, it's basically, like I've shown you, it just connects magnetically. A long time ago, Apple had the MagSafe connectors for its laptops, and I thought it was a genius idea because it just connected through magnet. If someone walked by and tripped on your cord, the magnet just snaps off, so your laptop doesn't go flying. And I was really confused why they didn't continue it. But I guess they wanted to use ports that are multi-use, like data and charging, and they couldn't get that to work. So they stopped doing that. But of course, other companies started making similar things for phones, and they make things for laptops as well, or like USB Type-C with power delivery features. I've been using one of these since March of 2017. In my car, I actually used to use a wireless charger device holding my phone, but after a while I found out that even with the quick charge, it either got the phone too hot or it just didn't put in enough power. So if I was navigating and listening to music, it lost power instead of charging the phone over time. So I switched to one of these because I really hate plugging a cable into the phone, in and out every day, multiple times a day, in and out of your car. You can't leave your phone in your car, obviously, out in the open, so you have to unplug it, take it out with you every time you go. So I got one of these and I tested it out. At the time, 3 years ago, there were just a lot of random companies making them, and all the tips were different. So it looked like if you got one, if that company stopped making them, you just couldn't just buy another connector and get it to work. So what this is it's a little micro USB plug, and what it does is you just plug it into your phone, into the micro USB or USB-C or lightning port, and then it comes with a matching cable, and magnetically it just connects like that, and it starts charging. There are a lot of benefits to this, but there are many cons, and I thought I'd like to go over everything I have learned from using these types of cables. Really just this connector and this cable for over 3 years, and having tested some of the newer designs out recently. Now, some of the old cables, they used to not do data transfer or support quick charge at all. This one I bought in particular, this is the only one at the time that I could find that supported both. Now, it used to work great, and it still works well sometimes, but we'll go over why it stopped working so well a little later here. Okay, I know some of you are going to make fun of me about my phone, but it's a Samsung S7 Edge. It's got the micro USB, so I got that. It's pretty old. I actually took it with me on the whole PCT, and I did scratch a screen, and I cracked the screen last year when I dropped it somewhere in South Dakota. But it's holding up well. I'll upgrade maybe someday. I keep waiting for the next better phone. Let's go over all the pros of using this type of cable with your phone. So one of my favorites is once you get in your car, I put my phone on its stand, and it has a little gap in there, so it just holds it like that. And what I do is I just reach down, grab the charging cable, and the one I used to use has a front and back, and it actually mattered, but these newer ones don't. So you just pick up the cable and move it towards the phone. You don't even have to look, and it charges. It's connected and charged. So it makes life really easy, and when you're ready to go, you could just knock the cable off. It's the newer ones, unfortunately, if you pull it straight, it might pull the little plug out, but it's easier to just kind of push it and pull it off. So easy peasy. And there have been many times in the car, I remember, where I just grabbed the phone from the stand and I just yank it, and I totally forget the cable was there, and it would just, and I hear the cable land and I go, then I'm glad I had one of these guys. Although, would I be doing that if I had a normal cable? I don't know, but I'm still glad I use a magnetic cable. Like I said, another advantage is this actually sits inside your charging port the whole time, so it protects it from dust, so nothing gets in there. And I found a lot of times people break the port just from using it a lot, and then they have to get the whole phone fixed just because of a little port. But if you keep that in there, you won't have that problem because you never have to plug things in and out. This one isn't necessarily a pro, but it's just something important. My cable, as well as the newer ones, if it says it supports data, you have to be careful because some of the new ones only support charging. So I'll show you what to look for there. But you can actually transfer data. So when I want to transfer pictures from my phone, I just plug that in and I can transfer data. So it makes it really easy. There's no plug in and out, in and out. So easy. I can even actually connect to my Osmo Pocket like this through an adapter cable for it, but I found it doesn't work really well unless you use a shorter cable. Longer cables just have too much interference. Yeah, I think the longer cable just sometimes weren't shielded enough that the data had some interference. The newer cables, however, are much thicker, so I haven't tried that out yet, but I will tell you how it worked out. A big trend with cables these days seems to be they're going towards braided nylon cord. I don't know if you could see it here. I'll show you some pictures of it. But I actually really like it. It feels nicer. It's not as stiff. It doesn't form into whatever weird form you have, and you don't have to try to fight it and bend it to get the way you want it. And it twists up and coils pretty nicely. So I really like that. Now, earlier I said that there seems to be companies just making them all over, so nothing works with each other. And it's tough because if you buy into one, you have to hope that company keeps existing if you want another part for it. And it's still iffy, but I found there's a company called NetDot. They sell a variety of products, and they actually list the generation of the product that they're selling. So like a Gen 12 plug will work with a Gen 12 cable, but a Gen 10 adapter plug won't work with a Gen 10 or Gen 12 cable. So it's really nice how they keep it organized so you can kind of know exactly which one you're buying. And it seems like they still sell much older generation cables and plugs, so it's still available. I bought the Generation 10 as well as the Generation 12 plugs because here is the Gen 10. I'm going to give you a close-up. The Gen 10 is more oval, whereas the Gen 12 is round. And the round part, sadly, makes it so it sticks up way too much, like on the bottom of the phone especially, but the bottom plug of the phone is gigantic. The advantage of Gen 12 is there's no up or down, it's round, so you can just stick it any way you want and you can even spin it. So that's a good advantage. Here's a Generation 10 model with a little adapter connected to a Anker USB cable. Just a 2-foot one. I found the Anker heavier duty ones tend to be pretty consistent with full performance when you use a little USB meter. Like one of these guys here, I'll show you a little picture. But it's really useful using these to gauge whether certain cables are charging your devices optimally. Otherwise, you could be waiting longer than you need to. Of course, there are a lot of cons, though, having one of these connected to your phone. Mine, of course, is ancient, so there's a headphone jack. Of course, a lot of phones these days don't. So you're going to actually have to unplug it and plug in your headphone over and over. Or if you have Bluetooth headphones, it'd be easier. I do have Bluetooth headphones, and I actually prefer using that because I don't snag on the cable. But other things like when I fly a drone, I usually take this out and plug in the USB cable directly. This adapter, I'm using the newer NetDot Gen 10 adapter, and I haven't tried the drone out with that and a short cable because they do sell short cables. Or I'll probably just use a Anker cable with a little adapter because it seems to work actually a lot better than their cable. Another thing you can try is using one of these adapters for your headphone, and the only catch is it's weak enough that if you have it in your pocket, every time you brush it, it's going to unplug, so it'd be really annoying. I would only recommend this if you have a separate headphone jack or use a Bluetooth headphones or earbuds, or you just don't listen to headphones at all, and then this will work just fine. But But if you need to plug in a headphone, it could get annoying after a while. And as I mentioned before, another con though is you're stuck with the platform. So you can't buy them from another cable and expect them to work 100% or even fit. There's no guarantee they may, because a lot of these models are just like made in China models that are just branded by different companies. So it may work, but odds are it probably won't. There's no guarantee. So it's kind of annoying that you have to stick with one company. The obvious con too is that it sticks out the bottom of the phone. Without a case, I would say it's pretty annoying because it sticks out quite a bit. With the case, it hides about half of it, so it sticks out a little bit, but it's not as annoying. So if you have a case, I would definitely recommend, if you don't use a case, it's going to stick out quite a bit no matter which adapter you use. So it's up to you to decide on that one. Another con with this particular Net.Gen 10 model is I have tested it with the 3 plugs I have, and if you pull on it just straight out, you can actually pull the adapter out of the plug. That is pretty annoying. My old one used to be pretty tight, so if you got it in there, you could not pull it out. And the magnet was a little weaker. Now, because of that though, there's always a chance that you're going to damage the port anyway, or you're going to lose this. So I always try to kind of just knock it off instead. Just kind of push it off instead of just pulling straight out. Another thing that's really annoying about these, when I first got them, not too many people had them, so they didn't report on this. And I see recent reviews that had reported is, if you drop one of these in the dirt anywhere, I've had this done. I've done this a bunch of times. If you drop in the dirt and you pick it up, you are going to get all kinds of little metal things inside the magnet. You'd be amazed how many things in dirt stick to magnets. Like, I dropped a real magnet I used to hang stuff in my car, and it was just covered in stuff. It took forever trying to get it all off, because as you know, you can't just wet it and wipe it off. You have to really fight it to get it off. And when it gets in these little crevices, you're going to have to use like a plastic dental pick. I found to be the best to kind of pry it enough that you can grab it. Maybe tweezers. I do have a sharp set of tweezers that are for tick removal, and you can kind of get some of them off that way. But it's super annoying when that happens. It also happens with the plug end, because that's magnetic as well. So if you put this in your pocket and you happen to have a lot of metallic dirt in there, it's just going to start gunking up all that in there. So that could be a problem. So it's up to you how bad it can be, but most of the time it's not a problem. It's just when you drop stuff in the dirt. Another con I had with my old set is the cables are braided nylon, but they are a lot thinner than the newer one down here. You can tell even at the same length. Now I found this one does pick up more interference. So when I connect to try to get data, it doesn't work as well. And I've also found testing the charging rates that this is consistently slower than that. I've included the devices that I bought in the links below just to pinpoint you to the exact direction of what I purchased and what I thought of them after the testing. But one thing to keep in mind is there's a variety of different plugs out there. Some only have 2 connectors instead of 4. You'll especially see it when you get the round ones. So you'll see 1 dot and 1 ring, and that only charges, and that'll actually only charge at a slower rate. So you do not want to get that if you want any kind of power delivery or quick charge support, and it definitely won't do data. So avoid those. I'll show you a picture of something that looks like a 2-port connector. Avoid those. They sell those saying you can spin it because it's round, but those don't work as well. The Net.Gen 12 adapters are also round, but I'll show you some close-ups. But as you can see, there are multiple plugs. There are at least 4, and there are many prongs in the cable itself. And this does support quick charge as well as data, not power delivery though. So if you have USB Type-C plug for it, it won't push full power through it. But from my test, it's been pretty reliable so far, so not too bad. It's just this plug sticks out so much. It's It's horrible. I don't think I'll ever use this. Another con with the Gen 12 is all their plugs are round like this, and for some reason they have this super bright blue light around here that goes around the whole thing, so you can't face it away from you at all. So if it's nighttime and it's plugged in, it's gonna shine in a 180 arc over the table. So kind of annoying, and it's lit up all the time. So if you plug it into a wall charger, it's gonna be lit up all the time. Kind of annoying. At least with my old cable, one side had a light, so you could just flip it over and light's gone. The Gen 10 adapter has one light on one side, and since it works upside down or not, you can just actually keep the light down and problem solved. The Gen 10 official cable is also a thick nylon braided cable, and there's a light on the side of it. You can't really see it here, but it's on the side, so you can kind of face it away, but you can't face it down at all. So kind of annoying, but it's not nearly as bright as that other one, that Gen 12 one. Now with this USB current and voltage meter, I tested out all the cables. I do not have any quick charge chargers nor quick charge. Well, my phone is capable of receiving, but I don't have any quick charge wall adapters, so I'm unable to test the quick charge speeds. But they should all work. If data works, generally quick charge will work. And the Gen 12 NetDot cable, I tested it, it performed pretty well. I base it comparing a Anchor cable that I've tested before connected directly. Usually that can push a little over 5 volts at almost 2 amps. That's good. It can push more if your wall charger supports it. But if your wall charger is only 2 amps, it should be able to support that. And from that, you can kind of tell the quality of the other cables. If you use the same charger and the same device you're charging, and the destination device is actually at a low enough voltage consistently, it'll pull the same amount. So if it's a little poorer cable, it'll show less wattage altogether. Now wattage again is voltage times amps. So generally the volts stay the same with the USB devices unless you use some quick charge format, but amps will change a lot. And the Gen 12 performed pretty well. I'll show you the results. It didn't do as well as I thought, but well enough. And this is the cable with that. The Gen 10 NetDot cable also performed pretty well. It actually performed, I thought, a little better. Most of the time it performed about the same as the Gen 12. They are both 3 feet. So, I mean, they're the same, pretty much the same cable, just the ends are different. So that kind of makes sense. Now my old charging cable did not do as well. It did all right, but it did not do as well. The funny thing is the plug on this has 8 ports. The cable has 4 along one side. So you can flip it over. If you flip it over one side, it doesn't do data. If you flip it over the other way, it supports quick charge and data. But what's interesting is these old designs have a little pins, and they have little brass nubs, and it basically uses pressure to make that connection. But I found that these little pins or ports are they're just flat surfaces, and they corrode. And once they corrode, they start creating resistance, so the current doesn't travel as well. And when you connect your phone, it does a little test to see what it can support, and it frequently registers something lower than it should. I'm always having to use like dental picks and try to scratch some of that corrosion away. Then it works for like a couple of weeks, and then more. And then unfortunately, it's so hard to clean, and these little pins, you can't really clean them well without maybe damaging them. So I am not a fan of these pin type connectors, and I actually noticed that they don't sell them as often as the other types now. The NetDot company actually don't sell them at all. I don't know what generation they last used the pins, but it doesn't seem to be as popular. I think because of that. It's so annoying when it gets corrosion and there's no way to get rid of it. The Gen 12 ones are these round connectors, and it's actually pretty easy to get rid of the corrosion on this because the metal sticks right out, whereas mine, the metal is recessed. And because this one is round, you can actually, to clean it, you just do this and just kind of spin it, and you rub off the corrosion. So that's a pretty good idea. Just I hate this monster plug. The Gen 10 actually has little ports inside, and the charging port on the phone part it's basically a slot with little pins. It should be good enough. It's just like a USB cable, except a lot shorter and less resistant to the magnet pulls it in. But that should, every time you go in and out, kind of rub it so the corrosion doesn't build up. Whereas the other one was just doing this and the corrosion just built up and it just got worse. Whereas this was causing more of this type of action. How do I show it? Yeah, like that. So it kind of rubs the contact. So that's pretty good. I think it'll work. I think it's going to work better than the other one. So over time, we'll see how it goes. Now, one thing that surprised me is I thought using their cable, it was pretty thick and 3 feet. I'm going to buy the 1 foot and test it out as well to see if it performs better. But my shorter anchor cables, like this is a 1 foot with the adapter, worked almost as well as just plugging it in. After running some more tests with the various size anchor cables I had, it seems like when I have the 1 foot cable or the 3 foot cable or the 6 foot cable plugged in directly, I get almost the same exact performance. But when I use the magnetic adapter, as the cables get longer, there's a slight loss in performance, although the 1 foot seems to work as if nothing's different. So at 1 foot, it seems to work perfectly, like if it's plugged in, but as it gets longer, it doesn't. So I don't know, it's nice having the adapter, but I am gonna purchase the 1 foot cable to see if it performs just as well as the regular cable with an adapter. So I guess the moral of the story is if you need to get a cable, try to get one the length that you need, not longer than you need, and you're gonna just coil it up. Just get the one that you need. So I may just stick with these. I hope Anker makes some braided nylon type so it'd be easier to manage. But I think I'll stick with these and buy more of these adapters because then you can just use it for any length cable you have. Whereas you have to keep buying these cables from the other company, and the adapters are cheaper. So, and that's all I really have about the magnetic charging adapter for a phone. I guess saying that's all I have isn't really good because I talked about it for quite a bit. But again, it does stick out a bit. It's just extremely useful though. I think when you're driving and you put it on a car charger and you just snap that magnet on, it's so easy and it just comes off so easily. And it's so nice being able to just get the charging cable on one-handed and take it off one-handed. I don't know, I really like it. I'll probably continue using it, even though this one has a quirk I hate in that it's not as tight, so it might slide out if you pull it. And I still have a drone, and I'm gonna try the 1 foot cable on there and see if it works. Yeah, if this works for the drone, I see no reason actually to keep pulling it in and out, so I'll probably just stick with that. And I do have Bluetooth earbuds, so if I get a new phone, I'll probably just stick with that. So this doesn't bother me quite as much, really. In fact, I love it. Again, below I put in links of all the versions I got, as well as USB tester. The one I got here, I ordered here to Germany. It's just the one they have. The one I really like, I left at home, and you could use USB Type-C and a variety of ports. So it's really useful, and especially if you are going a long distance hike and you're worried about your charging speeds, how long you'll be sitting at a hotel or something, I would say charge your cables and just make sure that they put out 100% of what they should or near, because if it's like 75%, just toss the cable and get one that's 100%. Otherwise you're wasting a good chunk of time. So very important. One thing nicer about the newer companies as well is with the same port type. So these are both generation 10 NetDot. You can use USB Type-C or micro USB. So if you actually have a USB device, micro USB device, and a USB Type-C device, you could stick these in both devices and then wind up using the same cable just to charge. So Kind of cool. You know, while I was making the video and blabbering forever about whether I should upgrade to a DJI Pocket 2, I totally forgot to ask my Osmo Pocket whether I should upgrade or not. So, hey, Osmo Pocket. Yeah, do you think I should upgrade? No? No? You sure? No. All right. You heard it, folks. I can't upgrade because it told me not to upgrade. Yeah. All right. Talk to you later. Bye. Number one I love is you can, when you get in your car, you put your phone on the stand, and my stand has a little opening on the bottom. And what you do is you pick up the cable from the car and you just move it towards the car, towards the phone, and oops.